Shemai Elite Dangerous Chums, welcome to another episode of Laser Merit Mining for Merit. And today, because it's a penultimate episode, we're going to be looking at the cutter, the best miner in the game, shock horror. So first we're going to be looking at the build, and then we're going to talk you through some mining itself, and then I'm going to compare it to how many merits you get with this particular build and this ship compared to other high-class ships. Like, is it that much better than the Corvette, for example, the Anaconda? We're going to compare them head-to-head, even though we've done it in previous videos. And also show you the build as well, of course, which is perhaps what you're here for. So let's look at that right now with outfitting. Looking at the mining lasers, we got 2D mining lasers, which are the best mining lasers for the power in the game. And with your big vessels, you want the most of these possible. So we've got 4 which work best with our distributor. Compared to, it's a bit less than your Corvette or Anaconda, which both have 5. But nevertheless, it's still excellent, and that's the price you pay. It mines at a slower rate, but it does have a much bigger capacity, 512, much more than the Corvette or the Anaconda. We can also have defensive weapons. Multi-cannon 3C, that should be a 4 class multi-cannon if you want a multi-cannon in there. Corrosive, whatever. Beam laser, we want a couple of those in there, but there isn't very good convergence because that's on the extremes of the vessel. But those are going to defend you in a Haz Res. Shock horror, we're not going to be in a Haz Res today because we're just going to be in a platinum hotspot because that's all I have available for my power, and that's what I can directly compare with my other large mining vessels that I've already built and tested out. Well, let's look at the core internal. What's powering those mining lasers, those 4 mining lasers? It is, of course, a 7A weapon-focused power distributor with super conduits. You could use charge enhanced if that's all you have available. I mean, it's slightly less efficient, but this is the most efficient for laser mining. You can grab this straight out of your Type 10 or your Python if that's what you're coming from. But other than that, that's going to be your best G5, of course. You're looking at the standard stuff like heavy duty, deep plating, lightweight power plant. Just put the smallest one possible. So for this, I've got a 6A overcharged. You probably need to go up to a 7 if you put in some more juicy stuff like larger weapons. Thrusters. This is the other important engineering aspect. You want 8A dirty drive tuning, drag drives. Oh, what is that? A class 3. Oh, the reason why I've done a 3 with the dirty drive is because I don't use boost a great deal. So bear that in mind for this build. I should up that really, but I'm running out of maths to be honest. FSD, this can be anything really, but you want increased range mass manager if you're traveling anywhere, but it could even be a 7D for lightweightness, because normally for merit mining, you're selling in the same system that you're mining in because you're reinforcing that system in order to get merits. So you might not need any kind of decent FSD, just a very lightweight one. Life support, 7D, the same as the sensors. You can go lightweight on both of those. Some people argue you should have an A-rated sensors or long range because to detect pirates before they get you, but I ain't done that. I don't bother. I just let them get amongst me and see what happens. So that is the core internals. Buddying those up with the utilities, you've got a heatsink launcher. Shield boosters, these are heavy duties because you're short incursions of pirates. You shouldn't need any kind of fast charge with those. Point defenses, you need mainly 2 really. I'd say you need at least 2 on down below. You don't need 3, it's probably extreme. But what is important, you need to place them underneath to be able to defend the cargo hatch from cargo hatch breaker limpets. And that is it. What else we got? We got optional internals. Here's our cargo capacity. This is the big thing the cutter brings to the table. 512 capacity, 2 times 256 in the 8 class cargo racks. Amazing. Shield generator 6A reinforced, but you want high capacity, not low draw. That's all I had in stock. And ideally, the best would honestly be the prismatic. If you have them unlocked, I would put them on. I have them unlocked. I just thought it's unfair to keep wanging those in. Collector limpets. Now, for your 2D lasers, you want 3 to 3.5 collector limpets per laser. So let's see what we've got here. We've got these 5Ds, which gives us 3 collectors each. They're D-rated because that's all you need. They're much more lightweight than A-rated, and all you need, they have the same kind of range, just a different kind of time period, so they're good for what you want. Recommended. So we've got 9. That's 3 times 3 is 9. And we also have another collector limpet controller in disguise as a mining multi-limpet controller to give us 4. So 13. Lucky for some limpets, collector limpets. Make sure you do not use a prospector limpet out of there. So like 3 times 4 lasers is going to be 12. So we got one more than, or even the kind of ideal range of what we want with our mining lasers. Detailed surface scanners there as well. Refinery, we've got a 4A, giving us 10. You can go less than that, but there's really no need because that's the optimum use of the space for this build. What else? So we've also got the prospector limpet. This is the important one. Make sure you pick a 5A. It's got to be A rated to get the most amount of of metals or gold or platinum out of your rocks. Otherwise, if you have a C-rated one, if you use your multi-limpet, it'll give you C-rated prospector and won't get as much yield from your asteroids. And with a 5A, you've got 4, so you can blast away 4. But I'd say you need at least 2 prospector limpets in any decent laser mining build. Hull reinforcements, I got a Guardian in there, I got a module, but really put in whatever you want. You could put 2 hull reinforcements upgraded to the max, of course. So that is the build. Let's go and have a look at how she laser mines. We're just finishing mining a rock here, and you can tell the beam's convergence is mighty pretty, and all the rocks are forming to our south, heading for the cargo hatch. And it's a delight. So we've depleted the asteroid. We've got to wait for the limpets to catch up a little bit. So let's scan some more rocks. So we'll send out the prospector limpets. We can fire these off when at pace as well while travelling, and I tend to travel with the cargo scoop down because it's fast enough. And for people who are worried about the sliding, the drift of the cutter, which I was worried about before even I very first started, it's not an issue at all because you don't travel at least I don't travel at fast enough speeds. I certainly don't boost in the asteroid field because they're all close together. So we got 2 there. We got an osmium 34% there, a gallite. We don't want that, so we're going to go for the osmium. So let's crack on. So I'll show you what kind of speed we get up to. Look at that, 120, and we got the cargo scoop down. So that's why I don't tend to touch the cargo scoop because it just ends up in mischief, to be honest. I end up bumping rocks, which we can do with the shields. It's not a problem. And the other thing is, so we're blasting away at the osmium here, is notice the heat as well. It doesn't generate a lot of heat on those 4 lasers. The convergence is pretty good. I don't like the prettiness of the pattern. That is my only argument about the lasers, but they do a hell of a good job on this ship, and it's a dream. It really is. The cutter is a dream ship for mining, and it's the best for a reason. Asteroid depleted. No problem, pretty quick. So let's blast off a prospector to that little one there and see what we've got, any goodies in there while we're waiting for our limpets a little bit. And you can go on for a long time out in the asteroid field doing this over and over again. We'll just blast off another one there, get a prospector out. So I've got the lasers on my 1 trigger along with all the collector limpets, and on my 2 trigger I've got my prospector limpets, just for an idea of setup. And again, we're blasting through this. I don't think we'll have any heating problems most of the time with the rocks. I'm quite far away here. I could be a lot closer, to be quite honest. But that is the mining experience. It's very good and it's enjoyable, but it can take a long time. So that might be the only negative. And this is in a platinum hotspot. Looking at the outside view, notice the top lasers are a little bit further back than the bottom, but because you have the front view, everything's at the front anyway, so it doesn't really have an impact on your beams when you're blasting rocks, so you don't have any turning off like you do have in the Corvette. And notice brilliant convergence, and my limpets are doing a good job. Here we are at Gavin Henson Gateway to make our sale, and let's go into the commodities market and get it done. And looking over at the metals, you can see gold. If we look at the bottom right, we will see 1,400 merits there. Osmium, here's a big one, 5,700 merits. Palladium, that's done. Platinum, on the other hand, we need to look at the demand because we're about 387 platinum. We have 387 platinum there, so we just need to make sure we have the correct amount of sell, so we don't get the bulk sales tax. So if you're, I think, over a quarter, you'll get the bulk sales tax of what the demand is. And taking the rest of the sales, we make some decent merits. Look at the bottom right. But overall, for this sale, this particular sale as a whole, it was around about 40, let's have a look, hold on, 67,000 merits is what we made over about an hour and a half. So it's about 85 to 90 minutes on average what I was the time I was out in the cutter on my runs here. So that equates to around about 46,000 merits per hour on this particular run. However, on a previous runs, we've had down to 39,000, so it is a case of there was a bit of a variation. I think I got a particularly good run in this, but it shows how good the cutter is. So even if it was at its lowest bounds of 40,000 merits per hour, it's still decent, definitely. And if we compare it to the Corvette, it's probably the nearest proper competitor, and that's got 320 cargo rather than 512 on the cutter. So the Corvette did quite consistently 45,000 merits per hour, but the Corvette runs were a 35-minute run, so you're out there for a significantly less amount of time. So either one is a very good miner. It depends on what you're going to choose. The Corvette has 5 laser beams, so that's the big one. It's a fast miner, so a much faster miner than the cutter with regards to getting the ores extracted as metals. So the cutter is number one, but you could argue is the Corvette. But I would choose, if I could only choose one, then it would be the cutter. It's more versatile. It's more, I suppose, forgiving with what you're out there to do. And also it's easier because you're looking from the front end. I suppose it's easier to get the beams on target, whereas with the Corvette, your beams on the top sometimes disengage because they're much further set back on that particular ship. What else? So we've got the T9, funnily enough, is the other competitor to the cutter, and I've only done my investigative kind of tests at the moment, but I was getting somewhere between 38 and 41,000 merits per hour. So it is less than the cutter. But it's entering the lower bounds of the cutter's ranges of hourly merits, and that's a T9. But these are all fully engineered as well, and the T9 also used the 1D Torval mining lasers, which you need to unlock. So that is the cutter. It's an excellent ship. I can recommend it as the best laser miner in the game, no problem. It'll do everything that you need. But you could argue that a Corvette or even an Anaconda, if you fancy that, could be used as well. It's all entirely up to you and what you prefer to fly. Don't let me tell you which is the best. Only you're the one that's going to decide based on how you mine. So I hope you found this useful. I've got just one more video which is on this, which will be the T9. I'm not sure if I'll do core mining or not. I don't have the time at the moment to get any of that in. But I hope you found it useful. Do drop a like if it has been. Drop any comments as well if you've got any corrections, any of your thoughts on merits per hour and the best way to do it. But bear in mind that I am using a single platinum hotspot. I'm not using a Haz Res. If we were using a Haz Res, you'll get double the numbers essentially, but you'll also get pirates to deal with, which is a fair exchange, to be quite honest. I would have minded a Haz Res if I could have for merits, but for my power I couldn't do that. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Have a most excellent day if you're playing Elite Danger Ray.